Well, hi everyone. Um, there's really with PayPal, we're not technically up and running yet. There's a lot of things that are very comparable to SCARS, which by this point a lot of people are familiar. The main difference with PayPal is we will eventually be able to take credit and debit card payments at the gate, which is I think an amazing thing because I'm always having to say, do I have my checkbook? Do I have cash if I go? Because I hate pre-registration, but I'm getting good at it. But for the most part, everything is going to be the same as far on the autocrat end. You'll still have to. I'm not sure how many of you just went over this with SCARS, but you would still have to adjust for PayPal fees when you're setting up an event, when you're doing the budget or the proposal. The fees are different. I don't know how they compare just because of the money, but with PayPal, the percentage is 1.99% for every transaction plus 49 cents. And so that is not passed on to the people signing up. That's just the fee, and the kingdom will hopefully be covering it by the budget that was made. Hopefully they'll include enough for that. PayPal will also have to have an event web page with the PayPal logo. There will be a link to the registration form, which would be a Google document, the Google document would populate a spreadsheet. And then with PayPal, it's done differently as far as charging the PayPal deputy or PayPal team. If anybody wants to raise their hand to be on the PayPal team, they would actually have to send an invoice. And then I don't know how familiar you are with PayPal. You can pay with a credit card. You can pay with, I believe, a bank account. You can pay with a debit card. There's a number of different ways you can pay. There's also the authorization request to use PayPal, same as SCARS, and it has to be branch and kingdom approved. You would send the approved authorization to me, and then once it's approved, I would do the form and set up the registration form and then give it to you for linking it. Once PayPal goes live for events, I will need a list of the potential PayPal swipers, the people that will be at gate. To be a swiper at the gate, you have to be trained no less than 30 days before the event, and the training would be with me and actually the society PayPal person, and that it would only be good for the event. You would have to get warranted, and it would only be for that event. And now I'm going to go to my handy computer over here and look at more stuff to tell you. Are you guys don't have your picture on because you're asleep? Because I put a whole lot into this class. Not really.
No garb.
I really didn't.
No, I think some people are like, for me, this whole last class on SCARS, I was eating my lunch, so I had my picture off.
I'm not really offended. I really am not. So same with SCARS, we have to confirm the comps that will be attending, and you have to notify the reservationist, which I know was a new word, but I bet with SCARS we're all getting used to that one. And the PayPal deputy for tracking purposes. All the same, you have to receive the approved authorization to use it from the Kingdom Exchequer. Oh, okay. So I will be the one that sets up the it's like a request for an invoice, which is essentially the Google Doc link. And that's what will make me run an invoice through PayPal. And then I'm not sure, honestly, maybe Zura knows. I'm not sure if I send the confirmation to the requester or if the reservationist sends the confirmation to the requester.
When the invoice is paid?
Uh-huh.
I believe PayPal sends the confirmation.
Okay.
Because I think we tested that for heraldry, and I think Ethel got the confirmation directly from PayPal.
Okay, then that's a good thing. If the invoice is not paid within 7 days, we cancel the invoice.
We don't. PayPal does.
Well, no, technically we do.
Oh,
PayPal will leave it in there forever. But we will send a reminder if the invoice isn't paid. My experience with PayPal is a lot of times it goes to the spam folder. After the registration closes, I will send a PayPal event report to the reservationist and the branch exchequer to reconcile with their emails. There will be a version of this report that adds a signature line for the registrant participant to sign at gate check-in. So just like SCARS, there will be the pre-reg form provided, and we'll just add a place for signature.
Or highlight. I think we've resigned to just highlighting instead of signing.
Oh, I love highlighting. Okay. Let's see. I went too far down on my cheat sheet. All right. So, then my job, but if anyone wants to sign up to be on the PayPal team, it would be your job too, maybe. We will have to verify, or we would update the Kingdom PayPal deputy if the number of comps changed or if check registrations are received, so we can adjust registration limits for the event. Because essentially I won't know what things are being mailed in if we're paying another way. I don't know if we would ever be running PayPal and SCARS at the same time on an event, because I wouldn't see the need to do that, since both are essentially just a way to take money electronically. So we don't need two ways to take it electronically.
The only time that would happen is if we wanted to use PayPal at the door. But for pre-reg, you have to pick one, either SCARS or PayPal, not both. But even if you do pre-reg through SCARS, you can have PayPal at the door when it's available.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know. Not really. I'm having a hard time understanding this, but basically, if you have any questions, I can answer them. There's not a whole lot to know, but we should be up and running really quickly. And so I would like to talk about the PayPal team trainees. It's not, you don't have to know a whole lot to do it, but you could be invaluable to your group if you were familiar with this. You have to be 18, you have to be a member, you have to have a valid ID because you will have to get warranted. And that would happen after the training. Like I said earlier, training would have to be with me and with the Kingdom. I mean, the Society PayPal person. But who cares about that? Let's talk about swipers, because swipers could make everything easier. Again, you have to be 18 and you have to be a member, but to be a swiper for an event, it will be a warrant just for that day, but the training is still the same. You still have to do the training 30 days ahead of time. And you'll be responsible for your login. As the PayPal deputy, I will still help you with any of that. Oh, that's funny, Alamanda. I would still help with all that because we don't know how it's going to go at first, but I think that being able to take it at the door would be a game changer, especially right now. The swipers that we would get from PayPal will essentially connect to any phone, any tablet. They're Bluetooth, is my understanding. So it's not hard as long as we have service at the site. If we don't have service, we don't even want to say that we have the ability to swipe at the gate, because all that's going to do is, I'm assuming, upset people when they get to the gate and can't pay that way. So before we offer that, we need to be able to guarantee that there will be a way to do that. My email is paypaldeputy@outlands.org, and that is in case all of you guys want to volunteer, or you know anybody that wants to volunteer. We've done a couple test transactions essentially with the heraldry, and it's really smooth. It's really easy. That could probably really change with an event. I might be like, I'm putting my hand down now, but so far it's a really simple thing. So if you have any questions, that's great. I'll try to answer them. Should I give everyone a 5-minute break to go get a drink in case I can't answer it? You have a drink?
Don't get excited. It's only iced tea.
Okay.
I've used these swipers before at in an organization outside the SCA. They can be a little tricky sometimes. Sometimes you run a credit card through, and if you don't do it exactly at the right speed, then it won't read it right. So there's a little bit of trickiness to them.
Well, hopefully the swipers we get will be PCI compliant, so they'll have the place to insert for chip cards, because at this point in time, most cards are chip cards, and that is something that I would imagine PayPal has, and that definitely makes them run smoother.
They do,
at least in my experience.
Yeah, they do. My organization had bought ours before they made the chip available ones, and so they are a godsend. If you,
Oh, good.
Yeah, our charity event literally doubled our charitable donation because we were able to take credit cards, and they worked really well. So, if you want a receipt, sometimes if they're not already in the system, then you'll have to turn your tablet or phone over so that they can enter either their phone number or email, so that if they want a receipt.
Right. And that could be a pain, but only until we get everyone in the system.
Yeah. If you have a PayPal account and you've used the swipers in any time in the past, then it pretty much automatically enrolls you.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So,
and I saw Joella's question, but then it disappeared.
My question, Slane, was what about silent auctions? Can we eventually set up PayPal for that?
We can eventually use PayPal for any way of taking money. For silent auctions, you would have to request, I'm going to assume as if it was an event, request the use of the swiper and warrant someone to do it. If there's someone warranted for the gate already, I imagine they could also swipe for the silent auction. But that's a great question, because so often I don't have the money cash with me.
Right. And then
Folding
would
money.
we have to, I mean, we'd have to have very specific paperwork to identify gate fees versus
Yes.
silent auctions.
Yes,
Well, if
but
you- if
I
you
will
had-
always be there to help with that, whether I'm physically there or not. I will make sure that we have the right documents or the
Could
right.
you could you run the silent auction as almost like a separate event, so it would have its own separate paperwork and everything?
Yeah, we would have to do it that way. We just wouldn't be able to have a separate swiper
Okay, got it.
because the groups will only have one swiper. They can always opt to purchase more swipers, but I believe the kingdom will provide each barony with one, but I don't know about every group.
We will actually provide one for every group that wants one. I know some of the shires are pretty remote and internet access is unlikely, so it may not be something that they can actually use, but the kingdom is going to pay for a basic swiper, which is a chip and magnetic strip reader.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so every group can potentially have one. I've pre-ordered enough for the baronies because I want to kind of start slow, and with the winter season, hopefully we'll be up and running so that we can actually use this coming up maybe in December. Who knows? We're going to try.
So what about getting the money? They've paid it, so now how do we get it?
So I would have to, once all the money is in PayPal, I would have to do a report. I would have to send it to the Kingdom Exchequer and the Kingdom Seneschal, I believe, say, this is how much money we collected. This is how much the fees are. This is the check that I want to write. Now, I would write a check from the PayPal account to the Kingdom account, and then the Kingdom would have to cut a check for it. So it sounds like it would take a long time. It really wouldn't take all that long.
It's kind of like STARS, though, where we close the registration for the event 2 weeks before the event so that we have time to do all of that before the event happens.
What about doing it at gate though? Because that you'd have to do that afterwards, right? But then when the event is over, you just close out the account that day, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So like, for example, say we did a fundraiser for the Kingdom Travel Fund, you would then to Kingdom have the check cut directly to them as opposed to us, and then it goes.
Yeah, it would come to you from the Kingdom. The PayPal account essentially is only for me to move money from PayPal into, and then I take that money and send it to the Kingdom. So no one would ever get a check from the actual PayPal account except for Kingdom. But it's still pretty quick.
So the prohibition for PayPal is that each individual group can't use their account for the PayPal deposit.
Right, that we have to use, per society, we have to use a separate Kingdom PayPal account.
Okay, so that's a pass-through. That would be that.
Yes.
Okay. So I know with our organization, it would get instantly deposited into the checking account that is associated with the organization. So
yeah, and
do it, but there's legal issues about that for.
Yeah, the society said that we had to make a separate account. It couldn't just go into our Kingdom account, which would have been a whole lot easier. But we're at, if we want to use PayPal, we have to do it the way the Kingdom has, or the society has set it up.
And just to kind of point, because we haven't tested it yet, we don't know all of the ins and outs yet, but I believe that for events where the check is actually going to a barony or a shire, once Slane has pulled it out of PayPal into the Kingdom PayPal bank account, she can actually write that check directly to the barony or shire for the events. The only time they have to,
Awesome.
The only time it would have to come to Kingdom is if it's for heraldry or a donation or fundraiser meant for Kingdom.
Then I take back everything I said, and it'll be a lot faster.
So Jethro had a question, but then hand got lowered, so I don't know if there's still a question out there or not.
Actually, with that new piece of information. I think my question goes away. I was going to say over time, if we use this more and more, we'll want kind of a ID on the turnaround or how frequently to be requested. I recognize right now that's probably jumping the cart a little bit, but in time, if it's used a lot, there might be, I'm imagining policies will come down on frequency and turnaround time.
Yeah, if I just have to wait, it takes 1 to 3 days when I send the transfer from PayPal to the bank account, but it usually takes 1 day unless I'm doing it on a weekend. It usually doesn't take the full 3 days to get there. So once it's in there, all I would do is ask my boss permission to cut a check. So it could be that quick until I have to get a second signature, and then that might,
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I'm going to mail it to Zura and not drive it to her.
Yeah, I would say that down the road, we're looking at probably a 1 week turnaround. But even right now, I think that we could probably do it in a week. It just depends on the mail system and how quickly we can reconcile the income coming in versus the confirmations we've received.
And Joella had her hand raised as well.
So is the fee for the PayPal pretty much the same as for SCARS?
The PayPal fee is 1.99% plus 49 cents a transaction. From what I know, that fee is covered by the kingdom, but we are asking that when you're running events to take into account that we are being charged that fee. So you can add, you know, if you know that we're going to break even at $10, to make the event $12.50 to get in. Just take that into account when you're writing the budgets for the events.
The tricky part about PayPal is because it charges per transaction and not per invoice and not per person. You could have 3 people register on one invoice with PayPal and it's 1.49 add-on. With SCARS, it's 4% across the board. So that the more people you have sign up on one invoice, the cheaper it gets, because that 49 cents doesn't sound like a lot, but it's actually a pretty big chunk of the fee that they're collecting from us. And so it's hard to also compare SCARS to PayPal because they're not the same. They don't calculate off the same numbers.
And Sarah has a question as well.
So the fees of 1.99% plus 49 cents per transaction, is that just fees if we're using it to invoice people, like using PayPal as pre-reg, or is that going to be the same fee if we're using PayPal as door?
It's the same fee.
Okay, so anytime we swipe their card to pay at the door, it's the same fees.
Uh-huh.
Okay, cool.
It's the same for heraldry, it's the same for donations, it's the same for at the door. Yeah.
And the person paying is never ever charged the fees. The fees come out of the amount we get from them.
Okay. And you've said that we think that Kingdom may be covering this fee for us. So in theory, if we were to use PayPal and we get a check in the mail from Kingdom with however much money we took in for pre-reg, it's going to be like the whole amount. So say we had 10 people pre-reg that way at $10 a whack, we're going to be looking at $100, not $100 less the fees.
No, the fees will be coming out, which is why we're asking when you do the budget to take into account those fees. So you add that into the budget when you're coming up with the price.
So then, go ahead.
I was going to say, so the kingdom isn't covering the fee. The individual group would be covering the fee.
Well, I'm just trying to make sure that we know that the people paying are not covering the fee. The fee is coming out of the group or the kingdom or whatever. So when the check gets mailed, that fee is going to have been deducted from that.
Okay.
I apologize for not being clear on that.
No, that's fine. It's a cost of the event that is not passed on to the attendees.
Yes.
Similar to SCARS.
Yeah.
We don't pass that on to the attendees either.
Right.
Yeah, whoever's receiving the final proceeds, they're the ones who are paying for the fees. So if it's heraldry, it'll be Kingdom because it'll come straight to me. If it's, and no matter what branch they're in, if it's an event, it'll be the group's budget that it comes out of. Same with donations. If somebody's making a donation to you in Elberon, the PayPal will be deducted from the check you receive from PayPal, from Slane.
From Slane, you make me seem so gracious and generous.
But right now we're not taking donations that way yet, correct? Okay.
No, but
Gotcha.
we are really working on getting PayPal ready to go.
Gotcha.
Yep, we're looking at opening up heraldry in PayPal on December 1st. So that will be an announcement that comes out here shortly. So we'll start with that.
Recorded.
I know. It's officially announced. Yeah, PayPal for heraldry, and then swipers is probably the next step that we're going to try to get going as soon as possible. Swipers at the door.
Well, good meeting.
All right, I guess if there's no more questions, we can hang out here if you want, or we can adjourn early if you'd like.
It doesn't matter to me. If no one has questions, I mean, I knew I couldn't take up an hour with PayPal, especially since it's not even up and running yet. But
I think I'm not even in a place yet to know what questions I would want to ask. Because
yeah, and please, I mean, if you guys aren't my friends on Facebook, you can always email PayPal deputy at outlands.org and ask any questions. It's still pretty new to me. Also, I haven't really done anything except a couple test transactions, and they were so easy. I've sent 2 reports already. They were so easy. Like so easy.
I do have the link up for heraldry. If you want me to share that, we can run through that real quick.
That would be awesome.
Okay. So on the Kingdom website, this link will actually be in a couple of places. Right now, it's only under the Exchequer SCARS and PayPal page. And if you go down to the bottom where we talk about the PayPal policy and then beginning December 1st. Oh, look, see, technically I've already announced it right there.
Oh, good.
We'll be taking heraldry payments, and either one of these links is what would happen. When your submitters are ready to pay for their submission, you just come in here and click on it. You're going to fill out this form, and it's just basic information. Your mundane name, SCA name, the local group, and your email address, and then whatever services you want to do. So on Monday, this number here is going to change to $5 per the White Stag. And then if you have multiple submissions, say you have 2 badges you want to do, you just type that in down here and hit submit. And then what happens from there is Slane will get the report, and she'll create an invoice in PayPal to send out for that person to pay. Easy peasy, super easy.
I like that too. I was gonna say, I like being able to do that with heraldry, because that was when I was Exchequer, like, you know, you'd be at a heraldry meeting and people would be handing you money and you're like, oh, but I don't have my stuff with me. You're like, yeah. This will do it later. Or, oh yeah, I was supposed to pay for the heraldry here, you know, when we're just out to dinner or something like that, right? So being able just to go online, do a form, and then they get invoiced directly is great. And then we don't have to worry about sending it to Kingdom because it's already there, all of that sort of stuff.
We do still want to have it on that payment record that is created to go with the submission. It just wouldn't be included in the check that the group sends to Kingdom.
Right.
It would just be notated it was PayPal. And ideally, we would want them to pay when the submission is ready, not when you start working on it. Because tracking that would be a nightmare.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
definitely.
yeah, I had to do a whole separate little thing in our QuickBooks when we were using that to just to keep track of who had paid, like who had already paid, but things hadn't been submitted yet. And like, it was a mess. It was so crazy.
I'm glad I just have to take the money.
It's still kind of a mess for some groups.
Oh,
Some of the submitters are ahead of the heralds on getting their stuff done. So I get payments sometimes 3 months in advance of the submission,
wow.
or a year, depends on the herald.
Okay.
Cool.
Are we good? Is this the end of it, of the whole Stags Con? How did it go?
Pretty good, I think. We've had what, probably for the more financial stuff, we've had what, probably about 8 or 9 people, I think, in
Oh, that's good.
the scars. I know the Scars for Everybody class was really good for me particularly.
Oh, yeah.
I have not yet done that, and I need to register for midwinter, and now I know how.
Well, and the one thing I noticed about Scars is the one thing that's going to get everybody repeatedly is the fact that when you enter in your credit card number, it defaults the date. So we're so used to Google filling it in for us, so we don't check the date on the expiration date on our credit card, and that gets a lot of people, I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe not you, Zara.
I don't know. It's been a while since I've used it. I think I pre-regged for one event 3 months ago.
Yeah. The MacBook
Yeah,
Pro fills
I
in
did it, and
everything
it
for me, so.
caught Stavros when he did it too. And I said, yeah, that's one thing we need to tell everybody. Hey, this might happen. Because
I never save my credit card information on any of the websites, so I always have to just put it in manually.
well, you've got to trust Google. Not really. I'm just really lazy.
I'm just always like, I never know which card I'm going to be using, so it gives me a little bit of
Oh, well, I only have my debit card saved. So. Hi, Joella. I haven't seen you in a long time.
Yeah, kind of taking care of my mom.
Oh, well, that's
So.
good. I'm glad your mom has you.
Yeah, but I liked having StagsCon virtual because I was down. My students were having a tennis tournament this morning. So I logged into Zoom, put on earbuds, and I was taking my yearbook pictures while listening to all the Seneschal training.
Good.
It was convenient.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like Zoom.
Well, I taught for 18 months on Zoom, so it's kind of second nature now.
Well, my big computer, the computer I use that's actually powerful, doesn't have a webcam. So I always have to use my little Chromebook. And honestly, this is the longest I've made it without it telling me that I have a horrible internet connection. So I'm glad it made it through the actual class.
Yeah.
I'm impressed too.
Whatever.
I'm just grateful I could be 2 places at the same time because
Yeah,
this was their only tennis tournament. So yeah. But yeah, I spent the pandemic sewing, so I'll at least have a new wardrobe.
Oh, that's nice. I've spent it making boxes.
Ooh.
So I made sure that that's not what is behind me. I don't know how you guys make things be behind you that aren't really there. Like, I know there is not an animal behind you, Zara, but there is.
You see nothing.
Now it looks like you have antlers. That's really cool. But yeah, I don't know how you guys do that. I need to learn that.
It depends on your computer. Like my computer, it says your computer does not support virtual backgrounds.
Oh, is that what I got to do? Find virtual backgrounds?
Yeah.
You want a quick
Mine
crash
would be
course?
like a party. What?
Do you want a quick crash course?
Kind of.
Okay, so down on the bottom of the Zoom window where you can see where it says mute and stop video.
Yeah.
So there's a little up arrow by stop video. If you click on that, you can go to choose virtual background.
Where?
And here, I'm going to share my screen.
Okay. Mine says front camera, back camera, video settings.
Oops. Now mine, because I'm sharing that screen, it's going to be funky because now I don't have those things anymore. Hold on. So when you do the little up arrow, does it say, because mine says select a camera, choose virtual background, choose video
Oh no,
filter.
mine doesn't have that.
Okay, then you might not be able to do it.
Okay, well that's the back of my room. I cleaned out my closet yesterday, and now I have a huge stack to go out to the shed. And then it looks like those drums are sitting right on top of my head. That's kind of cool.
Looks like almost like
Oh,
little
You're
antennas.
at the beach. I'm calling bogus.
I'm in Edinburgh right now.
Oh, well, fancy.
I'm just in my
I'm in the South Valley. Okay, well, I hope you guys had a good Stags Con.
Yeah.
I think there's a thing at 3 o'clock for just an open forum Q&A. Yeah.
Really?
That's it. Yeah.
Maybe I'll go pee and go to that.
If we're done with this, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and then we
Okay,
can continue to
thanks.
talk if we want to.
I've been trying really hard not to say